it or not, this is number 9, and we finally got a graphic for poor Monk, who has been she's been
neglected for so long.
She's been
I have been the disembodied voice for the entire book club.
She's been Aerith and having children from beyond the grave. Like, we can hear her, but we can't see her.
No.
All right. Welcome, everyone. And now that I'm done throwing that insult, no, I'm just kidding. Welcome, everybody, for another book club. This is your girl, Stygian Stilettos Gamer, aka Stygian Sis. I have a special guest with me today. It is Obviously Irrelevant. That is the name of his channel, and you can catch him at @ObviouslyIrrel on Twitter. Well, we call him Matt for the duration of this. So, how you doing, Matt?
I'm doing all right. How are you, ladies?
Good, good. Before I introduce everybody else, I just wanted to get a little background on you. Just, how you became a Final Fantasy fan, and maybe some stuff about Final Fantasy 7. Whatever you want to say. However you want to introduce yourself.
Well, I grew up with Final Fantasy. I'm not dating myself, but I'm a geezer. So I started playing Final Fantasy when it was new on the Super Nintendo, and
Yep.
played. It was a big part of my childhood, and my brother really got me into it. And after he passed away, I kind of found it again, found Final Fantasy again, and specifically Final Fantasy 7. That was when we played the most together, and really made me feel connected to him, and just fell really back in love with the whole series.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, sorry to hear about your brother, but yeah, that's a beautiful sentiment. You get to be with him almost by playing it. That's cool. All right, awesome. And then of course we have Rhea back with us again. How are you doing, Rhea?
I am barely conscious.
That all.
When you injects me with her energy.
Oh, I hear you. I am wearing Rhea's jewelry again, by the way. At Rhea Alexander's, no underscore, and then also it's Rhea Charms. I believe, Rhea Charms
on Twitter. And if you look for me on Etsy, it's Rhea's Trinkets and Charms.
Awesome. And then
I also got some music merch.
Whoop, whoop. And I'm wearing your Materia Girl shirt again. I love that.
Well, come on. Yuffie's the original Materia Girl. We got to do this.
And she lives in a Materia world. Absolutely.
Damn right. I'm going to wear this shirt like it's my personality.
Absolutely. And Goga Detko says, "Hey, Stitch, hi, everybody. Hi." And last but not least, we have Monk. Yes, we have Tifa the Monk with us. How are you today, Monk?
I am fresh off of a 9-hour shift. I am here to represent, and I have been, the Final Fantasy VII official account has been keeping me alive, a little bit of serotonin all day.
It's been beautiful.
Oh man, and that has been my little drip of sanity that's kept me going throughout the day.
Yes, absolutely. It has been a blessing. Hey, Ariala. Sorry, that's the artist on Twitter. She's great. We spoke earlier today by accident. But yeah, okay, let's go ahead and get started. So what I'm going to do is read Livestream Black 3. We'll talk, and then Livestream White 3, and we'll talk. And then, obviously, I can't read the entirety of Case of Yuffie and Case of Shinra, so we'll just, go over the highlights.
However, let me interject. If any of you want to read Case of Shinra, go to livestream.net. They have the audiobook. It's fabulous.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah, that was his accent, and it was glorious.
That's great. Yeah. I actually want to do that.
That was actually my first exposure to On the Way to a Smile before I went to Barnes and Noble and purchased it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know Livestream.
My first way of actually even being able to listen to the novel.
Yeah, I didn't even know Livestream.net existed until I joined this fandom. So, very happy about that. All right, so let me read Livestream Black real quick. Despite the panic and ongoing turmoil, life on the planet was returning to a normalcy of sorts. He saw something in the new spirits joining the live stream. The shadowy places of the heart seemed to define them. It was pleasant to him, the persistent drifting darkness, especially when he realized it was his actions above ground that had engendered it. Perhaps he would be able to do something amusing with it, like, for instance, turn the entire live stream black. Concealed within the planet's own life force, he floated throughout the world, leaving his mark on people everywhere he found them. More and more of them with every passing day. The others found the rhythm. Somebody's... Okay, sorry, I was echoing for a second. The others found the rhythm of their lives shattered, despair taking hold in their hearts. He delighted in this, and he invited the darkness to grow and spread. I want Cloud to know this is my doing. I want them all to know. He would need a body. There were things he had to say with his own human voice, things he had to tear apart with his own hands. I could use Mother's power. If I had just a piece of her, I could forge another body for myself. He tried to send his spirit above to walk the surface, but nothing came of it. The planet had consumed the memories of his own form, leaving him with no image on which to anchor his consciousness. But then he found another memory in the live stream that would serve, and he bound part of himself to that image. It took form of a young man, and he felt once again how the world of the living was unbearably confined and circumscribed. Nothing compared to the freedom he enjoyed as pure consciousness. Still, he had his mission. He created 2 more bodies, and then there were 3. The 3 who walked among the planet's surface were not him, and yet they were. Created by the force of his will alone, deviations from the order imposed by the planet, they were at once real beings and fantastical monstrosities. He thought about the future. As they search for mother, my servants will meet those who knew me, and their spirits will remind me what I once was. Once I have Mother's power, I will exist fully in the living world. It will not be long now. Even if I am incomplete, it will not matter. Cloud will be there. Cloud will completely. Alright, so more obsessing over Cloud. Nothing new there. Thoughts?
I do have a few, but I don't know if I'm allowed to kind of touch on this because it incorporates the other novel, the Turk side story, The Kids Are All Right.
I mean, you can.
Because it does go into a little bit about how the remnants are created. Because the three Laws, Yazoo, and Kadaj, they were actually real people that Sephiroth kind of took over. Because if my memory serves me correctly, Kyrie actually grew up with a boy named Kadaj, but he had like red hair or something. Am I recalling this correctly, Rhea? It's been a hot minute since I read that one. Also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might as well.
Since I read.
Yeah, it might as well be a new experience when I read it for the next week because I forgot a lot.
Yeah, but
it's been a minute, but yeah, they were essentially like hooligans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were hooligans, and basically Sephiroth takes over. So these are not just beings that he created out of nothing. He took over actual people, and using Genoa's ability to kind of morph and shapeshift, he was able to kind of take over these 3 boys and turn them into remnants of himself.
As if Sephiroth couldn't get any worse. He's taking a bunch of orphans and turning them into killers. Oh my god!
Yeah. There's an allegory in there, or a metaphor.
There's something in there.
Well, everything to do with Sephiroth is and this is one of the things that I really enjoy about the trio, is that they are very much a representation of a concept. Like, for example, with Laws, he was a representation of Sephiroth's masculinity, but he's also a crybaby. So read into that as you will, because he's a very fragile macho man. Whereas Yazoo was a representation of Sephiroth's sensuality.
Yeah,
and then
that was clear.
And then Kadaj was his savagery. So they're all representations of facets of himself, but also representations of essentially the toxicity that made him.
Yeah.
So it's just, and like he was supposed to be this mysterious, super macho. He was supposed to be a man's man, and this toxic idealism did not allow for any difference. So it's nice seeing his personality branch off and manifest in these three vessels for him, but it's still at the same time at what cost? Because yeah, they were hooligans and they pretty much lost themselves along the way, but that doesn't mean they deserve to have everything about them and their autonomy stolen
and die. Let's not forget that little part.
He got adopted into a loving home.
Right.
Hey, Charles.
They get to have Zack and Aerith as parents. I mean, come on.
I mean, it's not that bad when you consider.
Hey, Charles. Hey, Meza. I was just saying hi to everybody. Okay. Go ahead.
I do have one thing to add, though. It's just a point of humor for me, is that it always cracks me up, the concept that somewhere deep down inside Sephiroth, there's a big, whiny crybaby.
Very, very big Karen energy coming from Sephiroth.
He does a very good job of hiding it most of the time, but then when you see Lost, you're like, oh my god, this is a part of Sephiroth.
It's like, oh, what crowd to notice me?
Oh man, don't talk about Mother that way.
What'd you say, Matt?
You know, admit that deep down inside every macho man, you know, I'm a fairly macho man. There's a soft side. Maybe you need a good cry every once in a while.
Oh, nothing wrong with that, but it's just like it's interesting because you do get to see
Sephiroth. So
yeah, and for what is Sephiroth?
Him with that.
Exactly, he's supposed to be this big bad soldier, who, you know, with no soul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he just needs a hug.
Well, that's actually what makes it so interesting, because he's been denied healthy outlets and to express himself in the uniqueness that should have been Sephiroth. For all we know, he could have been a poet or something. Let the boy go to art school.
I know. I said he would have been much happier on the stage. You know what I mean? Like he is quite the thespian, as I always say. I think he would have been much happier on the stage.
For all we know, he could have been like the world's most successful drag queen. Everybody would be throwing money like Kiki and like fans stuff and be like, yeah. But no, he had to be forced into this idea. So using that concept with Laz being such a crybaby and essentially being the fragile male ego, but at the same time he's also the fragility that he has been denied.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's almost in a sense, Cloud and Sephiroth have like in its own way, the three Sephiroths, the three clones, are almost like a personality disorder in and of itself. Like it's these three sides of him that are trying to come out. And
parts of him that have been denied, which is why I like saying Sephiroth was probably a drag queen, or he was probably like a poet or an artist.
I love how drag queen was the first one.
Yeah. He would have thrived in my neighborhood when I went to art school. Like he would have thrived. He would have been a very happy ray of sunshine, and Hojo ruined that.
Yeah,
Hojo and his mother.
And yeah, because according to Ever Crisis, they had this fool killing people since he was 12 or something. I mean,
that warps a child.
Yeah,
he was denied. He was denied an actual loving mother, and he was denied any sort of semblance of a childhood. And it's very tragic. He's a very tragic character.
I have a lot more sympathy for Sephiroth than even some of the people I'm supposed to have sympathy for, like Lucrezia.
Oh, screw her. Yeah. I have no sympathy for that.
I would even say more so than the Turks at this point. Like, obviously, I like the Turks.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If he had Vincent Valentine for a daddy, he would have turned out way different.
Amen. Oh, Lord. All right, anyway. I would have gladly been a stepmother, too, in that case. Whew, all right.
I would have been the womb for that man.
Absolutely. Matt, did you have any last thoughts about Livestream Black before we continue?
No, I think y'all covered it excessively well. Way better than I could have.
Yeah, I love how we went into actual lore about the game, and then we threw in that Sephiroth would have been a drag queen. That's how these streams go. So just buckle up.
Or a leather daddy.
Yeah, leather daddy. He'd like to be Cloud's leather daddy. Anyway, LWIII 3. She tried. This is much shorter, only half a page. That's the only live stream one that gets more than a page. She tried to think of some way to warn Cloud. As she pondered the problem, all the other things she couldn't tell him rose anew in her spirit, vivid as life. There was always so much she wanted to tell him, but she had never known what to say or how. She hadn't troubled herself over this for a long time, and eventually she decided to get this cough drop out of my mouth. I can't talk. She hadn't troubled herself over this for a while, and eventually she decided there was no point in thinking about it now, either, unless she found a way to talk to him. I got a lot to say about that. She realized the one responsible for sowing all the hatred was trying to manifest himself in the living world. How was he going to do that? She mustered her courage and went to see for herself. He sensed her and gave chase, but then soon stopped. She could feel his mocking laughter behind her as she fled. There is nothing you can do. Still, she had seen what oh, good Lord. Still, she had seen what she needed to see, a glimpse of his intentions. He would begin by using others to act where he could not. Should she do the same? No, she thought, even if that was possible, I don't want to appear before Cloud as someone else. I want him to see me as he knows me. Okay, the whole thing. All right, let me start. So the whole thing about she hadn't troubled herself over a long time. Eventually, she decided there was no point in thinking about it now, unless she found a way to talk to him. Like, the thing is, when she finally got the chance to talk to him, she said nothing. I couldn't help but having children in the back of my mind as I was reading that.
My whole thing is, I think that a lot of people misunderstand what it is exactly that she's trying to convey to him.
Well, for one, yeah.
For one, the big thing that she's trying to tell Cloud is she's trying to tell him to stop blaming himself for things that he had no control over. And that is what she talks to him about.
That is true.
When she is able to see to him again. It's not, oh, Cloud, I love you, I've always been in love with you. No. It's, hey, Cloud, you need to get out of the past. You need to let go of things that you had no control over. You did the best you could. Now you need to focus on what's happening right now. You know, exactly.
Yeah, sorry.
What she does is she essentially repeats what Tifa says. Even using the same exact lingo that she uses.
Literally.
So, literally.
I guess that's all I was saying.
People always misconstrue what Aerith is doing here. And obviously, once she's in the live stream, she's obviously not, this is not maiden Aerith, where she's like, oh, I need to get to Cloud and tell him I'm in love with him and stuff. Like, Aerith is like saying, you know what, she hadn't even thought about this for a while. Like, she is in the live stream, she's with Zack, all that shit doesn't even matter anymore. Of course, she still cares about him, but it's not
somebody dropped.
like she's not actively trying to pursue some kind of weird necrophilia relationship with Cloud at this point. And like, get real.
Okay, Matt, you're back. Cool.
So yeah, that is what's going on here. Is that she sees that Cloud is suffering. She sees that he's, being dragged back into the past and blaming himself for not only what happened to her, but also what happened to Zack, too. Like, he's being dragged way back in the past, and it's affecting his current life. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't want that for him, because unlike
she
Aerith,
actually likes him.
This Aerith actually cares about him and wants him to have a happy, fulfilling life. So, she wants to do what she can to help him get there.
I doubt you could come across any lover. I mean, let's just go wild and pretend any of this was ever happening. I don't know. I'm sure if you ask 1,000 lovers on the deathbed, do you want the person left behind to be miserable for the rest of their lives? They would say no. That's what it means to love somebody. So whether it's friendship, whether it's whatever, whatever kind of relationship it is, like, no, she doesn't want him either blaming him. In reality, what she's doing is she realizes he's blaming himself for her death. He feels guilty about it. Or whatever version other people want to come up with is what's going on. she doesn't want him sitting around miserable, ruining his life, thinking about her. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, she actually cares about him. So that's nice.
I'm actually going to make a pun, so forgive me.
Oh,
I'm asking for forgiveness preemptively. But
no,
what I've noticed,
I deny you.
With regards to Livestream White, it's literally dismantling Maiden. It's taking all.
I like that pun. I like that pun.
Taking all of the points that have essentially destroyed, or that's essentially been character assassination. And it's just like, no, this is not how she would do this. No, this is not how she would do this. She's an actual by that point by that point in OG, she had increasingly become altruistic. She cares about the well-being of her loved ones.
And the
planet. Of course, and she knows that if she were to rise again, which it is within her power. If she wanted, she could hijack somebody's body just like Sephiroth did in order to actually communicate properly with her loved ones. But she cares about what the lasting damage would be if she did so.
Yeah, and she mentions that in Livestream White too. She says she needs to reach Cloud even though she knows it'll hurt him because of the good stuff. Yeah.
So she has to. So she's kind of walking this tightrope of, hey, the world is in trouble, but I understand that if I do this, I will literally shatter you because you are breaking right now, and I am the embodiment of your greatest failure.
Aerith is a culmination of Cloud, in some ways, a culmination of Cloud's regrets in life. You know,
exactly. And she's cognizant of this. She understands this of Cloud.
Especially her tie-in to Zack. Like the tie-in to Zack is what really is the kicker. It's one thing that he lost a friend and she died 2 feet in front of him. It's another thing like I've failed my best friend and the person that died for me. Again.
Exactly.
That's why the first thing you see is him go to Zack's grave.
Glossed over a lot in this whole conversation and this whole dialogue surrounding this is that Cloud probably feels like he failed Zack twice.
Absolutely, he does. Absolutely.
So when you really think about it, when you again dismantle it to its core foundation, you're going to realize that. With regards to Aerith, both Sephiroth and Aerith are looking at this from opposite sides, but they're looking at the same equation. How do I communicate with Zack?
Oh, you mean with Cloud?
I'm sorry. How do I communicate with him? And whereas one wants to physically interact, wants to physically do harm, or among other things, you're looking at Aerith, who wants to communicate with Cloud also, but is not looking to do harm. So it's essentially both Black and White are looking for the same solution.
Yin and yang.
But they're going about it a different way.
Yin and yang, two sides of the coin, same coin. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So you know how XYZ equation equals ABC equation, solve for the freaking letters. It's essentially the same thing. It's a math equation.
Yep.
But it's just different ways of solving or answering the question of how do we communicate with Cloud.
Matt, do you have any thoughts on this?
Again, I think you two all explained it very well.
Yeah, maybe we'll let Matt go first the next time.
You made the yin-yang point that I was getting ready to make.
Oh, well, I mean, feel free to elaborate. Yeah, maybe we'll let Matt go the next time. Go first.
Quite all right.
Because, we are chatty Cathys. We will, and then... this girl can talk anybody. Down here, she can talk anybody. Out-talk anybody. This one right here. So, all right. All right, so, case of Yuffie. This is, I think, where the meat of this is going to be.
I'm ready.
So, I don't know. I kind of feel like I should let Rhea drive this part. Well,
if any of you were on stream with me yesterday, you should know I am not responsible for driving anybody. I will run over the popo and I will crash.
Okay, I don't get the reference, but it sounds very GTA. I don't know. All right,
might as well have been GTA.
All right, so this Yuffie starts off basically at Forgotten City. Let's see, they laid her to rest. And basically, Yuffie says after they defeated Sephiroth, they went all to go talk to her to tell her what happened. Basically, you know, I mean, obviously they're not literally talking to her. We get it. It's metaphorical. It's like going to somebody's gravestone and talking to the gravestone. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
And she was taken aback by how easy it seemed for everybody to just go their own way after everything they've been through. But we, of course, realize. Not that any of them have gone on a life-saving journey per se, but she's never probably had any of these experiences before. Having friends, you know, like having having a tight bond with people. She's basically a princess. I'm sure she's locked up in a tower a lot of times, or you know, whatever. Or
more like that's actually a literal thing. But in addition to that, as we see when we go through Wutai, we actually see that people talk down to her a lot because for the duration, like when you first meet Yuffie, your first impression is she's a selfish brat. But she's another perfect example of actions speak louder than words. What she says is not who she is. But unfortunately and I think in this scene, we see a lot of, she doesn't have a lot of people that understand her as intrinsically anywhere. No. So basically when everyone is talking to her and they're getting ready to leave, like Vincent is the first to go and she chases after him, right? Be like, why are you leaving? Like, you can't, that's not a good way to say goodbye because she's not ready to lose that camaraderie, that friendship. And then because of the understanding that they've developed, he doesn't even say much. She just looks at him, he looks at her, and they're like, okay, bye. And even then, she's being a brat, asking for materia when she remembers, like, oh, I was doing something. And when she asks Tifa calls her a, what was it that she called her? She called her the ideal happy child, even though Yuffie is, on face value, being a little brat. Like, give me your materia, la da 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 da.
Yeah, she said you're strong. I'm sorry, strong. What the hell is that? She said you're strong and bright and cheerful, just like how I wish I could be. Which is so, I'm like, oh, Tifa.
Exactly. And it's just like, they look at her and they actually see her. So I can understand why that entire scene is her trying to keep them around. Almost like how Tifa asked Cloud to make the promise to come back. Yuffie's essentially grasping at straws of how do I make you stay, or how do I prolong this
conversation, or how do I tie myself to you too? I mean, in a weird way, it's like the promise, like, okay, we're gonna share this material, and if I ever need some, I'm coming back. You know,
exactly. So they give her the healing materia, whereas Cloud maintains custody of the materia, though technically it's her materia. So I remember reading that point. I'm like, make sure you get that in writing, Yuffie. You know better. Get it in writing.
Monk, before you talk, I want to give Matt a chance to talk. Did you have any impressions as far as the beginning of Case of Yuffie, where basically they...
I might go in last.
Okay. I'm like trying to make you talk. Yeah, go ahead, Monk.
I was just going to say that this is kind of not off topic, but just me kind of reaching outside of the novel. I am curious. See, here's the thing, is that Yuffie's part of the novel makes even more sense because of, you know, even though Sonon is, of course, a creation after the fact, you could see how easily that could tie in, you know, because, you know, Sonon was like someone who she was actually able to get really close to, and then she loses him. So that could tie into, you know, her becoming kind of clingy later on.
Yeah. Yeah, even though it comes after the fact, it's not incongruent with what we...
It's not incongruent. Like, you can easily work it into already established lore and already established character traits that Yuffie has.
Yeah,
that is the one frustrating thing, though, is that because of remake, you know, and they're trying to work everything in, you're like, oh, I kind of wish that some of these newer characters were worked into some of the later projects, you know, like maybe seeing Marl and Advent Children, you know, or seeing, you know, having references to Sonon in Case of Yuffie and things like that. But I don't know, I'm getting off track.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I thought that opening sequence was very interesting. It was a great look into the psychology of Yuffie and who she developed into over the course of OG. And like I said, I thought it was great that Cloud wanted to hold on to the offensive materia. I think he was clever about doing that, because even when she got home before, you know, when you get to that part, but they even thought that it was a good idea that she only brought the healing materia as opposed to bringing all the offensive materia too. So I thought that, yeah, even though he was keeping it from her, that he was setting her up pretty well for when she got back to Wutai.
Yeah, I agree, because well, one, she's young, and he like, she's young, she's kind of rash, you know what I mean, that comes with being 16, and Cloud is obviously going to be more measured about when he decides to pull out something like materia. One, it's definitely a reminder of the planet. Hey, Silver, and hey, Meza, I don't know if I say hi to you. I mean, just in general, you put a target on your back, having that amount of materia in general. I'm sure it's lucrative. I'm sure a lot of it people have to stop using, destroy, whatever, you know, just based on like geostigma. Oh, people are afraid to go near it. Oh, you have materia. What else do you have? You know, you're hiding some bombs in here, or so he knew it'd be safe in his hands, and if she needed it, she could find it. So,
she could come right
I said safe in his hands. Not necessary. It was safe for a while until Laz got it.
Technically, it was left in a safe cache, and then something else happened to it while it was out of his hands. So
yeah, that's true.
In his hand, it's safe.
It wasn't like he anticipated 3 Sephiroth clones coming, you know, and try to take over the world again. So yeah.
Exactly. So just like dangerous materia needs to be guarded, as we learned many times.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was bittersweet, because I definitely, I definitely could see how she feels. It's almost like if you went to high school with a bunch of people and then they just all go to separate ways and you stop talking again. You definitely feel lonely after that.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when they've seen her as intrinsically as they have. Because as you go, when you make it to Wutai, you're like, these motherfuckers, you don't deserve her.
They treat her like shit in Wutai. I'm like,
they do. And it goes all the way back to OG. Like, we have members calling her a bimbo, and she's like, I'm sorry, she's the Lord's daughter. She's the princess, and you're going to call her a bimbo? I'm sorry,
and she's 16. You're calling her a bimbo? But okay, whatever.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, she needs to discover what the button to her shorts does, but still.
Yeah, most certainly. I have to admit, I was quite uncomfortable when she had her little character reveal and intermission. I was like, girl, button your pants. But yeah, that was just the mama instinct. I mean, I'm not a mother, but that was the mama instinct coming out of me. I was like,
Exactly,
big sister energy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
like, I'm not going to police how a girl dresses herself, but at the same time, I'm like, you're going to look at all this shrapnel and stuff. Cover up a little bit. You're going to get like tetanus or something.
And just as a side note, because, you know, I can't help it. As I've been reading through this novel, I have noticed how everybody views, they'll talk about who's, you know, Barrett is doing this, Sid is doing that, Naki's doing that. They always, and through the entire novel, they always talk about Cloud and Tifa as a unit. Either literally saying Cloud and Tifa, or they talk about Tifa and then they talk about Cloud immediately. Tifa answers the phone, but she also has to talk to Cloud, because Cloud's just standing right there beside her, I guess, as friends, just they just conveniently are always together. So I like that touch in there, because they still gave you doses of Cloudy throughout it, even though Case of Tifa's only one chapter.
Yeah.
And people always view like Tifa, like I like the level of respect that everyone in the team has for Tifa. You know, like, she's the sensible one. She's, you know, or you know, when you're talking to Sid, he says, "Oh, Tifa's the one who wears pants in that relationship." You know,
yeah, Barrett says she keeps him focused.
She keeps Cloud focused, you know, and things like that. Like, everyone has all this so much respect for Tifa, because this is of course a fan interpretation, but I like to imagine that, you know, they gained that level of respect for her when she became the party leader for a time, and she took things over.
Mm-hmm.
And searching for Cloud and everything, like they all gained a level of respect for her after that.
Yeah, and she's I'm sure she's the one, because Cloud sure as hell ain't picking up the phone and calling anybody. I'm sure she is the one that keeps in touch with everybody. You know, even if it's just infrequent.
She's the hub. She is the social hub.
And she's the one who, you know, she has this insightful dialogue about the other characters throughout the. I mean, even in here, with her comment about Yuffie, like she sees right through the little bratty, you know, her
bratty shield.
Yeah,
it's more like a defense mechanism to protect herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I have to admit that in case of Yuffie definitely gave me a different perspective on Yuffie. along with
I will convert everyone into Yuffie fangirls.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it.
All right, so she gets.
I will say that too. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Just going off of that is that there actually was a time when I couldn't stand Yuffie.
Definitely, absolutely.
like my first playthrough through OG, when she stole my materia, I was so pissed at her. Because my battle style is very materia reliant. And so she screwed me over royally when she took off with my materia. But Najima really did work wonders with this novel, and it really gave me a fresh perspective on her, and especially gave me a fresh perspective on just how much she actually does care about other people in a way that she wasn't really. I mean, you get to see little glimpses of it when you're playing OG, but this novel really goes into it about the sacrifices she makes for her people. And it's like, okay, I have a lot of respect for her after that.
Even, I mean, I would argue unearned to a large degree, but but she has that loyalty to her people nonetheless, and it's commendable.
Exactly. And I agree with you there, because they have not reciprocated the depth and the brevity of Yuffie's actions. She's willing to she's going out into the wilderness where there are monsters by herself at 16 for the sake of her people. Mm-hmm. She is becoming a thief. She is essentially allowing herself to be a human target by, like, these grand displays is essentially putting a target and, hey, I'm the distraction. Look at me. Mm-hmm. Not so that the people behind the whatever enemy can go on and do what they want. And it's just like, I love Yuffie, but when you read Case of Yuffie, you're like, okay, I'm going to take her away from all of you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Speaking of, let's get right into it. So, so she gets back home. She's greeted by Godo, and he's like, yeah, keep your mouth shut about whatever the hell you were up to, because everybody here is blaming whoever, you know, like, you're just, if anybody even believes you, you're just going to be blamed for everything that happened. So she's like, she's coming home excited to be like, oh my God, I'm a hero. Everybody listen to my stories. Yeah. And that rug got pulled out from under her.
Exactly. But it's just, I also understand it, because when you think about it, it's just, she has this great accomplishment. When you do something amazing, you want to share it with your loved
saving
ones.
the world is kind of
like, shut up.
You know, that really is the hero's burden, though, in a lot of cases, because there's a lot of times you can't tell everybody. I think of Nathan Drake. I think of Batman, and you know, all these heroes that hide themselves, or they just go. I mean, Cloud, whatever. Cloud is just running around delivering shit as if he didn't just save the fucking planet. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. But at the same time, she should be able to at least talk about it with her father. But he's like, eh.
Yeah, well, we know they don't have
the respect. Nobody respects her in WIII.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And she did something worthy of being respected. I mean, she's already been doing things worthy of being respected. Mm-hmm. But that is like a big, like...
Yeah, saving the world, I think we can all agree, big accomplishment.
Yeah, very big accomplishment.
Man was like, it kind of reminds me, you know, I think of the silent heroes. I'm sure there are terrorist threats that are... thwarted every day somewhere in the world.
More than you realize.
And people who have died protecting people who we have, you know, there's somebody who died protecting us that we have never met, will never know their name. That's kind of what it reminds me of, to be a a hero in a game or whatever, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, no, Cloud, you know, him yeeting Sephiroth into the live stream in the first place, kind of his fault a little bit, but
He would have gotten there to begin with. I mean, like,
but that was accidental. I mean, Sephiroth did just, you know, murder his mother and almost killed Tifa and stabbed him, so he wasn't really thinking too clearly at the moment, you know.
But here's the thing: look at it this way. Think of the Cloud situation as you guys have watched Indiana Jones, right? The first one.
No.
The Lost Ark.
If I've ever seen an Indiana Jones movie, I don't remember. Just letting you know right now, this is another one of those Star Wars movies. You go and make your point, but I got no clue what you're talking about.
What I was saying was, regardless of Indiana Jones's interaction, the end result would have been the same. The Ark of the Covenant would have been found, and the Nazis would have been electrocuted and devoured by the energy crap. So regardless of the intervention of the hero, Sephiroth would have eventually made his way into the live stream under Genova's influence. The only difference being who's going to stop him. Like, he is still part of the live stream, regardless of Advent Children. He's still there.
Yeah, that's true.
Nothing's stopping him. He just kind of delayed the inevitable. Maybe the planet will finish eating Sephiroth. Maybe Cloud gave Sephiroth incentive to stay alive longer within the live stream. Either way, it doesn't really change much.
No, I will say real quick, and then let's keep going, is maybe when Cloud lets go of his guilt and lets go of the past, there's not enough of Cloud's like memories of Sephiroth that will allow him to manifest himself again. They don't mention Sephiroth again after, you know what I mean? True. Because he said, as long as Cloud remembers me, I will, you know, come back, or whatever the hell it is. So if Cloud lets go of all of
by the planet.
Like one thing that struck me, I'm sorry, this is off topic, but I just have to say this. One thing that struck me about Cloud doesn't seem to, I mean, I'm sure he hated Sephiroth at some point, but he does seem to have let go of even the hatred of Sephiroth. Like, as he said, like, I pity you. I think that's what it's turned. It's like Cloud realizes that the thing that Sephiroth never had in his life was love, and that's why he doesn't understand what it's like to lose something, which is why he doesn't cherish. You know, I mean, Cloud says all this, but it really is striking because of everything that Sephiroth had done to him, and then as Sephiroth was coming back, he doesn't even seem like, oh, I hate Sephiroth, I can't believe he's trying to come back, or oh, I'm terrified. He's just like real chill about it almost. Until Sephiroth is literally in his face, and then, I mean, he's shocked for a second. But yeah, he was pretty content. Anyway, that was totally off topic. So, yeah, so she talks to Tifa, Cloud. Oh, sorry. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Yeah, so she gets back, and they're basically rebuilding. What they said was that the live stream basically went through LWIII and tore up a lot of stuff. They didn't say anyone died, but some people were severely ill. Most people, unfortunately, were not harmed too bad. But the buildings were old and destroyed, so they're rebuilding, and then they built this hospital. In town.
And Yuffie's Dr. Yuffie. Somehow she has a doctorate. I'm proud of my girl. She's a doctor.
And she's working day and night, helping these people out, exhausting herself. And then
basically working herself to death. And it's just like, I need to find an ether supply. So instead of, I don't know, asking for help, she's like, oh, maybe if I find this solution, I can keep killing myself.
Yeah.
And that's the age-old adage.
Well, and because like she's been trying to earn the respect of her people, because she truly cares about LWIII. I think that's obvious. Because I would have left. I'd be like, Tifa, Cloud, y'all got room over there? Because I'm tired of these motherfuckers. I would have been out. I'm sorry.
Like, they treat me like shit.
Yeah, that'd have been a wrap. But maybe I'm a petty bitch, whatever, you know, say what you want to, but my ass would have been gone, okay? And then...
I'm not gonna lie, I'd have a room special made. I'd help them build the addition so that I have a special place to go whenever I'm tired of LWIII's shenanigans.
And speaking of shenanigans, eventually her dad nails her into a room, and she's like, what are you doing? and
like taking advantage of the fact that she's too tired to do shite. She's literally exhausted, falls right back to sleep. But I'm like, you see, this is why you waited until you were too tired to do shit. She got all the energy in the world, so... exhausted her ass, and then like just nailed her into her own house. And just like, and all I'm thinking is, what, you're trying to starve her to death?
Apparently. Yeah, I don't think he thought that through.
I don't think so either, but I am not Goto's biggest fan.
No, never have been. Why would they give you no reason to be? But yeah, and so she eventually realizes that the Midgar Pox, aka Geostigma, which by the way I just had the revelation today as why it's called Geostigma, which is a hilarious saw that movie in 2005. I'm like, oh, stigma of the earth.
It took you this long, woman?
No, I doubt I've ever thought about it. That is fucking hilarious.
It's fine. You
But clearly I hadn't taken 2 seconds to think about the name. It's like, whatever.
Well, I look for puns. I love looking for puns in movies and stuff like that. It just makes me happy.
But yeah, so they have just heard about Midgar Pox, and it's a character named Yuri who she grew up with. Yeah. His mother got it, and so they're making a correlation between the fact that she just came from Midgar, and then this Midgar Pox is, even though she's not sick, what she says later, blah blah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and they compare her to a rat.
Yeah, they compare her to a rat. They think she's like a host of Geostigma somehow.
Yeah.
So
and then Yuri comes in.
Yeah, Yuri comes in and he breaks her out.
Busts her out.
They go running into the woods, and
they make it to one of the materia caves, which because of the change in the landscape due to the live stream, they're able to walk there instead of use one of the special chocobos that we went through so much freaking trouble.
Oh my god, right? I was like, wait a second, they walked where? I had to get a damn gold chocobo to go over there. I was furious.
Like, when they make it to the cave, they're looking all over the place, and Yuri makes a comment because she's all like, well, maybe I can prove my innocence. And he's like, me, calling her selfish, but it's just like, you're calling her selfish after she's damn near killing herself. You're focusing on what's coming out of her mouth and not how she's behaving. She's acting as your human shield.
She's basically being accused of being a murderer. I mean, these people are dying of Geostigma. She's being accused of bringing the plague to Wutai. So if somebody's up for murder and they hire a defense attorney, are they being selfish by not wanting to go to jail for the rest of their life? I mean, I don't understand what.
That's crazy. I had a lot of issue with that, mostly because, but then again, it's another of focusing on what she says and not what she does. And this is something that's a recurring theme in both OG and remake, where what comes out of their mouth doesn't match their actions. So, for example, Cloud, what dribbles out of his mouth is he's kind of an asshole, but his actions, it shows that he's far from it. He's very caring, very loving, very giving. Where another thing, Tifa says, I'm part of Avalanche, but really she's more concerned with taking care of the planet and taking care of the people, regardless of whether or not they work for Shinra or not. So you have their actions contradicting what they're saying. Yeah. And this is a regular occurrence within this. Like, for example, we'll even use Aerith, like in Chapter 8. I know we keep coming back to Chapter 8 because everybody freaking hates it. Her actions are not matching what she's saying.
I don't hate
her actions are kind of bratty. Like she's booby traps the place and everything like that. Only to like follow him like a freaking stalker in the night.
Which is what Toriyama said, not us. I'm just saying. But...
That was the intention. So don't say I'm pulling this out of my ass. It's not coated in brown. But here's the thing. What she's saying is, oh yeah, I'll take care of you in the morning. Well, we'll get you home. She's lying. But her actions are showcasing that she's doing this. Same thing with Barrett. He's saying he's doing all this for the planet. He's actually doing it for vengeance.
Yeah, that is not why. I think he cares about the planet, but it's just as a convenient reason.
And not only that, I was gonna say this too, is that, you know, a huge one, and this is even an example as clear back as the OG, but you can see it better in remake, like you said, where you can see their facial expressions and hear the sound of their voice, like the emotion in their voice. You know, when Era says, oh, you know, we got to move forward, not look back. And then you can see her, every time she brings up Zack, she has this really sad look on her face.
Glossy eyes.
despite what she is saying about go moving forward, she's still hanging on to Zach in her heart.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So everybody is doing things that are antithetical to what they're saying.
Yeah. And Yuffie
and this
is no
like
exception.
another instance because we're used to seeing them as part of a team. We're used to seeing them like as the game progressed. We don't even get to see them kind of butting heads that much in Remake because they actually develop their relationship. So they're able to read each other. They're able to take each other's cues. They're able to say, oh, you're being a brat, but I know you're not really a brat. You're fine. We're good.
Yeah.
So now we're just kind of like back at square one with Yuri. And all I'm thinking is because I have this past knowledge, I'm looking at Yuri. I'm like, I agree with Nanaki. He should have bit you.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Nanaki, is there anything else in the Yuri section you want to go over before we, or any thoughts from the panel? Go ahead. Yeah, bring up whatever you want in relation to Yuri.
Essentially, they find that the Blackwater, they find it in the Materia Cave. So they realize belatedly that the sickness is coming from the water, and this is also where Yuffie learns that Yuri is the one that went to Midgar, and Yuri is the one that carried the geostigma to his mother.
That's why he knew that. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot.
Again,
that's why he knew that she wasn't responsible. Because he eventually falls. Like he clearly has already been ill because he can he can barely walk, and that's how she runs into Nanaki. So this chapter ties into Nanaki's chapter.
The case of Nanaki, but it's very much I think this is another of what you're saying. What he's saying is not matching what he's actually doing, because he said that he's calling Yuffie selfish when in actuality he's the one that was sick, and he waited a little while before he said anything. Yes, he broke Yuffie out, but he's still letting Yuffie carry the blame of the geostigma. And he's doing all of this because he wants to help his mother. Yes, it's still for someone else, but it's still selfishly motivated. He's not taking the blame off of her shoulders.
And
he's not innocent.
And he wants her help finding the cure because he probably thinks, my guess is what's going on. He thinks she feels guilty. She's blaming herself, so she'll do whatever it takes to find a cure and help me find a cure. Like she's definitely using her.
Already looking to cure everything.
Yeah, he's definitely using her. I mean, that is
exactly.
Yeah.
So again, Nanaki should have bit his ass.
I hear you.
And here's Yuffie, teeny tiny Yuffie, trying to drag his dead weight.
Yeah, and that's when Nanaki shows up.
Nanaki finds them. And carries Yuri, living the dream, even though he should have been dragged. I'm gonna stand by this statement. Should have been dragged.
And then what was I gonna say? Did they ever explain why Nanaki can't get it? By the way.
Basically, what seems to be the recurring theme is when people are faced with their mortality and they're already weak-minded. That essentially lets the geostigma in. So in addition to that, it's once you consume that Blackwater or consume the Genova, Sephiroth, Antichrist water, if it gets into any of your orifices, if you also have this experience of I'm going to die, that seems to give root. So if you are in a state of mental weakness or if you received such a shock, that is what's making them sick.
Okay. So
the Blackwater is trying to be ingested. It kind of reminds me of there's a horror movie where the slug.
But wait, I'm just to be clear, I'm asking specifically why Nanaki can't get it. That's what I'm asking. Do they ever mention it?
It's strong. Nanaki hasn't had an instance where he thought he could die or anything. Remember,
hold on, wait. I think I'm answering. Yeah, go ahead.
I think they said it was specifically that you could get it after you were sick. You already had a prior illness, and it was able to.
That was the original theory, but there are people that are not sick. Like, for example, the two little boys that you learn in this book that got it when they were trying to rescue their other brother. They weren't sick, but they thought they were going to die. And because they thought they were going to die and they were exposed to that Blackwater,
that's why they got the geostigma.
Yeah, geostigma is kind of like a fulfilling prophecy.
Illness.
Yeah, it's self-perpetuating and self-fulfilling prophecy. You think if you get it, you're going to die. So then your body reacts to that, and then you die. Yeah.
Exactly. So this is why Yuffie, even though she was also in the Blackwater, she didn't allow herself the time to think about her mortality. Her focus was, gotta escape, Yuri's gotta follow me, and then when they get back to Wutai, she and Nanaki are too busy focusing on getting everybody taken care of. She doesn't think about her mortality, even though she has been exposed to the virus, has been in the Blackwater, but because one, she is mentally strong, and two, she hasn't allowed herself time to doubt. She has taken a page from Tifa's book, and I'm going to keep busy, but she does send Nanaki away, one, to find a cure, and two, to keep him from possibly getting exposed to the disease, which is actually stated in her thoughts that she didn't want him to get sick.
Okay, and just to be clear about my question, because I think it's not being understood, even though I like all the information we just gave. I'm saying, can a dog get geostigma? Yeah. That's what I was asking.
The planet itself is being scourged, so it's even affecting the monsters, if I remember reading correctly.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, because that's what I was like, can a dog get... And that brings up another...
next time, just say what you mean, woman.
What?
Say what you mean.
I said, I literally said, why can't he get it? And then we started going into why anybody does or doesn't get it. And I was like, wait a second. I'm asking, can a dog... I mean, the Naki is not like anybody else. I figured, people, but okay, whatever.
This is affecting the entire planet and all the wildlife on it.
And then, so I guess everybody. all animals with a consciousness also join the live stream too. Now I'm thinking about when Nanaki dies, what happens?
Yeah, actually, that is something that's discussed by Bugenhagen when you're. Just pay attention to what happens when you go inside the observatory. He explains that all the life, including the plant life, trees and everything. Yeah, once it dies, it returns to the planet, and then it kind of gets recycled and comes back as something else at some point. So there's a little bit of like
a Buddhist type of
reincarnation. Kind of a little bit of a Buddhist interpretation in there as well. Reincarnation as in sorts.
Matt, what did you say? I missed what you said.
I was backing up her explanation about the FMV there, and when you go to Bugenhagen. Shows everything. Shows the dogs, the trees. It all breaks down.
And that weird dancing
very dude. Pocahontas.
That weird dancing dude, which freaked me out for a very long time.
I'm just like, what's he doing? What dance is he trying to pull?
That is so funny. Yeah, I've got to replay OG. So I'm definitely gonna replay OG and remake before Rebirth come out, and of course CC. And I'll just watch Dirge of Serpent's gameplay.
Once I finish Remake and OG, I am going to include Dirge of Cerberus, so I'll probably be like, hey, Stitchy, you want to come on?
Whoop, whoop. Absolutely.
Yep, that way you don't have to deal with it.
Because, I love me some Vincent Valentine. Yeah, I didn't even notice how bad the game was because I was enjoying watching Vincent on screen.
Honestly.
Then I went back and thought, I was like, not great.
I'm one of the few people.
The gameplay is that is like the one entry
subpar.
That I will not apologize for. I'm gonna apologize for pretty much every entry in the compilation except for Dirge.
Yeah, can't do that.
People on this planet that enjoys Dirge, but I am okay with other people shitting on it as long as they accept the fact that the story that was added did enrich everything, even if it did make Lucrezia worse than she already was, and I hate that kind of
thing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm not against the additional lore, it's just the damn gameplay.
There's a reason why when I see Nero, it's on site, okay? On site. Bop, bop.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, the stuff they did with Hojo was questionable, but
questionable or believable.
Yeah, questionable, believable. I do appreciate the twist they gave it in Intergrade. Like that made a lot of the Dirge stuff at least digestible.
Exactly. But yeah, I think by this point in hang on a second. Hang on a second. Her name's in the way. Is that Pierce over there under her tuchus?
Who?
I'm looking at her pillow that she's sitting on. Whose face are you sitting on, my queen?
Oh, that's Anthony Scaramucci. Sorry.
Okay.
I have when I lived in North Carolina for a while, I went over somebody's house, a night of party, and I forget when who it was, but they gave it. I saw this pillow. I was like, I gotta have it. It says, "I'm not Steve Bannon, and I'm not trying to suck my own cock." I was like, I've got to fucking have that. So they gave it to me.
Okay, back to queening, my dear.
All right, cool.
I have many questions, but we'll save that for
All right, so back to the regularly scheduled program. Yeah, so as Rhea said, they did learn about the Blackwater and told Godo. And so they told, everyone in town be cautious drinking water and basically just don't think about dying because that's going to cause you to die.
Pretty much.
Which there is some psychology behind that too. Like what I love about Final Fantasy VII is they bring a lot of stuff from the real world too, because I believe in China, so there's unlucky numbers, right? Yes. There's a phenomenon where people really do die in certain days of the year more so than not, just because they've heard that these numbers are unlucky. They think something bad might happen that day, and then something bad does happen that day. I mean, it's a really crazy phenomenon.
Yeah, but you're right. Like for example, 4 I think was one of the bad numbers.
Yeah, you'll literally see 4 or 14 or both. I don't know. You'll go
the 27 club where somebody died at the age of 27.
You know how terrified I was when I turned 27. I was like, oh God, please don't let me. I was like, no.
Or how some buildings will actually skip the floor 13.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. A lot of buildings will skip the floor 13. Yeah.
Which boggles my mind when I was actually in one of those buildings. I'm like, where's the 13th floor? I'm like,
13 is my favorite number. I'm sad.
I know, it is my favorite number.
But yeah.
But no, that and also it's mind over matter. Like for example,
break it to people. I hate to break it to people, but there's a certain level of delusion there, because even if you don't label the 13th floor, it still exists.
It still exists. Absolutely.
It still exists. Like, what are you trying to do here?
That's a statement. Because here's the thing. Like, for example, if you think you're going to get better, your thinking it does sometimes give effect. So if you were saying, hey, I'm going to have a good day, 9 times out of 10, unless something really bad happens, you're at least going to trick yourself into having a good day. Fake it until you make it. So you're essentially applying a placebo effect and tricking your brain into thinking it's a healthy brain, or tricking yourself into thinking, oh, by virtue of avoiding X, Y, or Z, something good will happen, or my present state will remain equul. Like, for example, you avoid stepping on a crack to avoid breaking your mom's back, but it's just like, we know in our heads, don't do that. Like, or that doesn't matter, but still we're going to avoid stepping on the crack. And even though it's appealing to the superstitious part of our mind, it's still, and it also appeals to the OCD and what have you, you're still kind of tricking yourself into saying, I'm going to have a good day. My mom's back is going to be fine, even though my mom's back is not fine. But you're still going about, you do what you can to make your day better.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I agree completely.
Yeah, mind over matter is
mind
the
over
statement.
Matter. So I don't know if you had anything specifically about the Nanaki portion you wanted to talk about.
No, other than how there was a cute little moment where it reminded me that more so than best friends, Nanaki and Yuffie act like siblings.
Yeah.
So they rough house and they do all the things, but one of the things I wanted to point out that really isn't overall important to the story, but I kind of feel should apply in real life. She starts off with saying, "Hi, Red," and he tells her, "Why can't you call me Nanaki?" That's all it took for her to respect his choice and name. And, okay, Nanaki. So yeah,
got
maybe
people
you'll
whining about.
accidentally
That's amazing. Yeah, it's just like I want to be called enough. It just reminds me of like people who whine about having to use pronouns. It's like, okay, people. It's not even like you know this person's name when you first meet. Like whatever they tell you to call them, that's what you're gonna call. Their name could be Bob, and they tell you to call them. Like you're not gonna know.
Yeah, like for example, I don't like being called Allie. I prefer being called Alex. So guess what? People usually, unless they're being an asshole, will respect my choice in being called Alex because I told them this is my preferred nickname. Or
Allie, I don't understand. I would have never gotten Allie out of Alexandra. It's okay.
Unfortunately, it's a whole thing. But and now I'm starting to go by Rhea. So it's just because I'm making that choice, and you all respect my choice to be called Rhea.
Yeah,
and so that's the name I gave you.
So it's that's what Yuffie. Exactly. So Yuffie doesn't need a whole speech about why he wants to be called by his name. So just call him his damn name. Yeah.
And I kind of and that's one of the things that I actually made a note to point that out because it's just I feel as if people make a big mishigas out of nothing. If somebody wants to be called this, call them that. If they want to be called unicorn, then god damn it, call them fucking unicorn. It's not that hard.
I want to go by some name of an FF7 class, and that's what people call me.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. And if I want to call Monk a bitch, that's what I call it. So that's
exactly. She hasn't told you not to.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay. So you can just catch me outside, bitch. I'll call you bitch too.
All right. We are professionals here.
You catch me after this stream. You catch me after this stream.
We are professionals.
Let's go a few rounds.
All right.
But anywho, so like for example, and this is where we got the scene where Yuffie learns that the PHS system doesn't work, so Nanaki has the cell phone.
Yes, yeah, I'm brain dead. So I'm glad you're here because you reminded me of stuff. Yeah, I love the whole cell phone. She was like, why wouldn't it be hard for me to?
And she's all like, Jimmy, and it's just literally siblings wrestling over a freaking phone. And that's all I could think about. They're freaking siblings.
Didn't she? In fact,
with my brother for shit.
In fact, a little later, when a year passes and they go to, and she ends up in Coral and jumps on a that's headed toward. Did they actually went to Rocket Town, right? Or
so she was on the way to Coral, and then she sees the Shara having its test flight. Mm-hmm. And then it narrowly avoids her, and then when it lands, Sid and Nanaki come out.
Yeah, that's what it is. It landed, and and they came out and had an exchange, and she even what was it called when you
that's when he does the running to her 30 dancing, getting ready for the cat, and she just sidesteps at the last minute. He's like, "Why'd you move?"
Why did you move with a 5-foot fucking dog coming at you?
I know, and it's just I just love their interactions, and pretty much she spends the rest of the freaking case of Yuffie riding on his back, living the dream. And it's just like,
then she put him in a arm. What the hell is it called? Yeah, yeah. She's like, hey, come on, tell me. Because he's being a naysayer about curing.
Exactly, but at the same time, in this instance, because she's not trying to manage the emotions of Yuri, she's a little bit more receptive to, hey, there might not be a cure, and she's like, hey, I know, but I still have to try.
Yeah,
but without having to manage somebody else's emotional roller coaster, she's a little bit more receptive to it. And she's not as bogged down. She's still going to try because this girl doesn't know. Like, she will find a way. Like, if the world was ending, I have no doubt in my mind she will find a way.
Yeah, I mean, if it's something that the world introduces, there theoretically should be a cure that the world produces to.
Exactly, because that's essentially how nature works.
I think it was kind of interesting that Sid, of all people, agreed that, hey, if she thinks there's material out there that'll cure it, then there is.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Sid comes through with some wise words every once in a while.
Yeah, and it's just like, even though I
think Sid's getting soft in his old age.
His ripe old age of 32.
Yeah. Except here's the thing. I'm going to be very candid, and I've always been candid. In OG, I absolutely hated Sid. But as he softens, yes, he's likable. I still want him to actually or I want to be shown, not told, the progress from OG Sid to current. But I'm not negating the fact that as he gets older and in other installations to the compilation, he's a really cool dude. Like, we would all get along. Granted, he needs to stop smoking. That's what's aging him so much.
Look,
I'm sorry. That was very ill-timed.
What'd you say, Matt?
But
I get his mentality. I do. And, you know, and I'm not going to lie. I may have shed a tear or two when you know, the shuttle's launching and she's still down. And he's like, "You're going to die." And he runs down there to save her. You know, I still may shed a tear or two over that whole scene.
Exactly.
To me, I love Sid, all his, you know, warts and all, because I mean, I do acknowledge that his relationship with Shira is very toxic in OG, and it definitely is something that he needs to work on. But seeing that it is something that does improve with time, that is something that I can kind of, you know, get behind and still enjoy the other aspects of his character and his personality. And I'm not just saying that because I share certain personality traits with him. I'm just saying he's a fun character. I love it when he's party leader and he runs his running animation and everything. Like, I still consider myself a Sid fan. Even though I do acknowledge that he is problematic in a lot of ways.
Exactly. I do think
he's a problematic fave.
I just realized, I hope we're not, crap. I hope it's not, I just realized I haven't had my headphones in this whole time, so hopefully the whole thing hasn't been, echoing the whole time. But anyway.
Oh, no, I haven't heard an echo.
Okay, good. Whew. All right.
But yeah, so up until, but between, Yuffie essentially being reintroduced to Wu Tai, no longer under house arrest, I just also wanted to point out that she did get an apology, but she didn't care that, like, and not that she didn't care that she got an apology, but it's just like, it didn't matter to her that she was blamed. Her only concern was helping people. So 2 weeks she's playing doctor, and another 2 weeks she's searching for a cure. 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. 2 weeks, and again, it's just very much you're 16 years old. She's a child.
Yeah.
And yet the onus of protecting her nation is again falling on her because everybody else has given up, or they can't even bother, or they're so set in their nihilism or the defeatism that they're just letting a child go off into the world alone, where and it's just like, what is this, like a long-term assassination attempt? What you doing here? It's just it kind of brings hope for Wu Tai, in that when Yuffie ascends to power in Wu Tai, you already know it's going to be better off for her being there. But it's also a reminder that the future is in the hands of the children. And yes, we can argue semantics that Yuffie's 16, she's a teenager. She's a child as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, absolutely. Who the hell?
Who 18 or split in half?
Make the universe split in half?
At the end of Yuffie's story, she's 18 because 2 years go by.
Yeah. So by the end she's legal. Okay, so no mercy over Yuffie.
I'm not going there.
Yeah,
I mean, she's still 18, but
yeah, I think pretty much when you have to go with the term she's legal, I think you still know that there's something that I don't. Yeah,
exactly. We're just like, no, okay, no, okay.
I'd be willing to say even at 18, she's still very much a child.
Oh yes, definitely.
There's still a 1 at the start of her number, so I am not in the real world. I do not agree with age is just a number when you're on the wrong side of 25.
Absolutely. Yeah. 25 is when you stop being a kid for me. But I'm an old lady, so then, what do I know?
Even then, if a 25-year-old is dating a 50-year-old, I'm going to be giving that 50-year-old side-eye. So,
well, let's not get ourselves in trouble here. Let's see. I'm going to leave that alone.
We'll probably have the discussion another day over something else.
Because we are talking about Final Fantasy VII after all, and Yuffie. And I'm sure there's I'm sure there's some shippers out there who like her with Vincent, and I'm just gonna.
Yeah, except I still make this statement knowing that this caveat exists. The reasonable adult, and I use reasonable because I'm trying to avoid too ableist of language. a reasonable adult will understand that in fiction, do what thy will. It's not going to harm anybody. The reasonable adult will be fine. We know the difference.
Oh, yeah.
The unreasonable mind, however, those are the ones you got to be afraid of.
I don't know where this conversation is going.
Pico and actually enjoying it.
Oh, okay. I don't know what that is. I don't want to know, but based on your description of it, I don't want to know. So anyway, so let's well, any last thoughts on Case of Youth, because that was the bulk of our conversation. Then we'll just kind of, hang on, do a brief.
Let me check my notes.
Yeah, and then we'll just do a brief summary of Shinra. We'll just,
I definitely really enjoyed it. I enjoyed that more than the Shinra. I love the development of Yuffie's character and her personality, getting really to. Even in OG, you didn't really get to see much of her other than she was an NPC you picked up. She had a little bit of a side story, and that was kind of it. Mm-hmm. So it was really great to see her develop into her own self and
find purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was just truly phenomenal. And the picturing right there, Nanaki, sorry, with a fanny pack or a little purse with a cell phone in it, made me very happy.
Yeah, I agree 100%. What I love about the book is it gives you another side of these characters almost, and because as I mentioned before, it's one thing when you're in the middle of saving the world and have all this insane stuff going on, but when people have time to be themselves, to go back to their normal life, yes, there's a lot going on, but as part of the Case of Shinra says, even with all the craziness going on, people are sort of getting back into the rhythm of things, and so we're getting to see them in their day-to-day versus the craziness of everything that has been going on. By the way, yeah, I totally agree. They're just fictional characters. I don't personally care. Yeah. What I personally choose to ship is a different matter, but I don't really care, honestly. Right. Like I said, they're fictional. I used to love Ash and Bosch. And she's 19, he's 36. So look, I'm not throwing stones at all. I just want to be clear.
Exactly. But
I still like them together, frankly, but it's just a little harder for me now that I'm on the other side of that equation, because when I first played it, that's another thing. For me, psychologically, like I used to, be totally in love with Titus and Squall Daughters. That was fine when I was 12. Now I'm 34, and I'm like, I can't be gushing over 17-year-olds like I used to. So that's part of what's going on in my head.
Exactly. But
now you gotta gush over the guy that sleeps in the coffin for 30 years.
Oh no, we've always gushed about him.
I've always gushed about him, and I think
we've always been Vincent fans.
And it might be why I've gravitated towards more Cloud, especially Zaddy Cloud. I love post OG, post ACC Cloud, and having those headcanons. Because I like them a little older these days. I mean, I can't help it.
It's a lot more age appropriate with Dad Cloud.
I think also it can be said that given our current life experiences, it's easier to relate to adult situations.
Somebody raising kids and going to work every day and all that. Yeah, I agree. So, but trust me, I have no problem with people shipping whatever the hell they want to. If you like it, I love it. Whatever.
Exactly. And this goes back to our previous discussion about problematic things, but that can be a whole other discussion in itself as well. But to close off Case of Yuffie, something that I noticed belatedly was that every Yuffie-centric anything usually ends with her riding something off into the sunset. Usually it's a chocobo, but now she's riding Nanaki's back, riding to the sunset, over to the horizon. And I'm like, you know what? Ain't that a metaphor?
Oh, yeah.
Always looking to the future, but she's always riding something into the future, just like la-di-da-di-da. And I'm like, my little girl.
Yeah, I'm glad that things haven't gotten her down. Because she deserves to be protected from. I mean, this book did not give a good view of Wu Tai. I'm not gonna hold you. I mean, But I also get it. You know, you're talking about a girl who's royalty and she's running around and acting like a spoiled brat in your eyes. And meanwhile, you got real shit to deal with. Like, you got to have a job and a this and a that. I imagine they think of her as like the Paris Hilton running around. Well, not Paris Hilton.
Exactly.
But you get what I'm saying? Like a Kardashian running around town. Finding things to be, you know.
But here's the thing. Even if we were to use the Paris Hilton metaphor, like, we see her, we think blonde bimbo. When in actuality, she's a businesswoman. She's actually making moves. But people will discredit her because of this persona that she puts between herself and the people viewing her.
And the whole sex tape. Yeah, I mean, that didn't help her either. I mean, not me. I don't give a damn. But I'm just saying, like, her perception versus who she actually is. And exactly. I say the same with the Kardashians, and we'll go over real quick the Shinra portion.
I got my notes.
Y'all can talk shit about Kim Kardashian all you want to. All I know is the bitch has been married to, I mean, she's been dating all these high profile men. Like, she's got a whole empire going on. She didn't make herself, she got herself rich. I mean, now she comes from wealth, but she's rich. She got all her sisters rich. All they got to do is just show up on a TV show and people are pouring. So, hey, look. Don't hate the player, hate the game. That's what I say.
Exactly. Like, it says a lot more about the people who have made her rich rather than her herself.
Absolutely.
She just took advantage of stupid people.
Yeah, honestly.
You know what? You do.
I mean,
I cannot knock it.
Whatever her show is called, because I don't even know. It's only on air because somebody's watching it. You know what I'm saying? So blame yourself.
Exactly. And even if nobody was watching it, I genuinely think with the business savvy that they have, yes, it's not all ethical, but it's still the business savvy that they have. You can't knock it. If they don't make money this way, they'll make money another way instead of leeching off of their parents' resources. Yeah, they're going to make it themselves.
Any business gets large enough, it's going to start becoming unethical at some point. So exactly. just news for you. But anyway, we don't have to get into that.
Oh yeah, no, that's pretty much all of my talking points for Case of Yuffie, other than she is my baby. I fucking hate Goto. He does not deserve the daughter that he has. I'm just saying.
It's interesting that they turned him into a drunk for intermission, by the way, because it's never mentioned that he was a, you know, and he's a drunk and he's in prison, whereas he wasn't in prison before.
It does make sense though.
Sorry,
he's self-medicating.
Yeah, what did you say, Matt? I didn't hear what he said. What'd you say?
You said you see the way he was bouncing around that fighting arena during that boss battle?
Like, and then remember, he turned into this Deva-looking thing.
Yeah.
Like, don't even get me started on the freaking tower, and they're all turning into monsters, and I'm like, I'm kind of glad I didn't have Vincent with me during that playthrough. I'm like, he'd probably have an existential crisis.
I can't remember. Did Zangan drink? Did Zangan drink as well? I can't remember. Is that like some sort of thing where you know, like there's that character in Dead or Alive who is drunk the whole time, but he's you know, is that some sort of?
It reminds me of like Drunken Master, like martial art, or at least, and I'm going to put this caveat that based off of what I've seen in movies and what have you, there is always a drunken master. Yeah. So I don't know.
I wonder where that comes from. Yeah, I wonder where that comes from.
As a lot of it are like C-dramas and what have you. So maybe there's something there. I just haven't delved into it, so I don't want to speak on it beyond the fact that it's in a lot of Eastern movies that make it over here. Yeah,
I wonder if that's kind of the character trope they're going to go with now because of intermission. Because he is probably. You know.
But it feels like Goto is also given up and he's self-medicating the entire way through.
Yeah.
Like he's pretty much just waiting until he kicks the bucket. Oh, I've already got an heir. I don't spare, but I don't care. Fuck off. You do you. You're probably going to run this country anyway. I don't care. Give me my mimosa.
That's a mimosa.
Oh, no, Muay Thai. You're drinking Muay Thais.
All right, so let's run over this real quick. So, then you can help me narrate. So it starts off with Sing. Basically, Sing is like kind of not dialogue, but it's just going over. It starts with Temple of the Ancients and everything that happened from there on. It goes into him thinking about the first time he talked to Aerith and how she was scared of him.
It reveals a lot about their personalities. That's honestly the only thing that I enjoyed about Case of Shinra is how, one, it validated my theories about the Turks, and there's a reason people become Turks. Like, it's not just, oh, I applied for the position. But with Sung, it delves in how he's like, if the Turks didn't find him, he would have wound up in a cult. Let's just put it that way. He would have wound up in a cult because he is so quick to deify Aerith that you actually, it's to a point where it's just, he won't even lie to her. He has literally put her on a pedestal to a point where the only reason he behaved the way he did in Midgar, where he slaps her in OG, is because he's playing the role that Aerith gave him.
Expects him to play, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm evil, you know, she thinks Shinra's evil, so I must, and I work for Shinra, so I must be evil too. Exactly. And might as well give her what she wants.
Yeah, but he's essentially been her first bodyguard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first thing she ever says to him is thank you, because, and this is what we're going to, this side starts. He's thinking over he's thinking over everything that happened between Forgotten City and then after Aerith dies and so forth. And
again, I'm going to plug in, if you ever get the chance, listen to the audiobook just for this scene, because you get Kate says, I butcher the pronunciation, where you get his Scottish accent. Do it for the sake of your own mental health. Do it.
Cool. And he describes why they decide to go with a different approach, because entrapping Fauna ended up leading to her death, so they were hoping that allowing Aerith to basically live her life while under the radar would yield a different result. It didn't. Famously, it didn't.
Yeah, unfortunately, but with Sung, you can clearly see that he has gone out of his way to protect her, even from their own organization. Mm-hmm. Like, it's actually mentioned that it's actually being encouraged that he does things the Turk way. It's like, nah, fam, you're not touching her.
Yeah.
So it's just he absolutely deified her. She is his messiah.
And yeah, that's true, because even though he mentions the whole thing about she thinks Turks, she thinks they're evil and all that, when he's gravely injured in the Temple of the Ancients, she sheds tears for him and says, and yet Aerith shed tears for him. She found it hard to see him as an enemy when she had known him since she was small. Because, like I said, the first thing she says to him is, thank you for protecting me. Then he reveals that he works for Shinra, and she runs away. But I don't think, I think both can be true. She can be afraid of him and like him.
Exactly. Like, for example, like in this, you actually feel sympathetic for half of them. Like, hell, I've got like an entire rant written down in my notes, like sympathizing with Rufus of all people.
I love Rufus. Sorry.
I know, like, I hate the fact that I sympathize with him so hard. Like, I sympathize so hard with that man.
Yeah, a lot happened to him.
Yeah, I mean, like, everybody thought that Sung had died, and then he just shows up because they're looking for Rufus in the remains of the Shinra building. And even Elena is all like, you're alive, launches herself at him. So, Selena fans, there you go. You have a moment. And I do wish that they would have dug a little bit more into the fact that they had to climb the stairs, all 70 flights of stairs, just to get to the office.
Ooh, yeah.
Little Easter egg.
Yeah, so after Singh is thinking of everything that happened and everybody's presumed he's dead, it does go into how they eventually find him. You got Root and Reno, like you said, searching. And while trying to find Rufus, they end up finding Sang, and everybody's shocked. Like you said, Elena literally launches herself at him. Super excited.
Yeah, she was like ready to get revenge for his death, because everyone thinks he's dead.
Yeah.
And she's not, and it's mentioned a couple times, she's not making it a secret that she's got a crush on him. Have you seen Sung? He's fucking gorgeous. I have a crush on him too.
He's not my type, but yeah, I understand why people are attracted to him.
I like my men pretty sometimes.
Yeah, he's a little too pretty for me. I don't know.
Well, I enjoy everything.
I'm starting to get a little jealous. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, what kind of skin regimen he got going on?
I don't know what. I think he just takes a bath in lotion.
I'm thinking vampire. That's what I'm thinking. But
that could work too. I'd be okay with that.
Regularly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then
with Rufus, Poor Rufus. He was 5. Damn it.
He was 5 what?
So when you finally get to the scene with Rufus, it's like the first shot from Diamond Weapon, I think it was. Yes, Diamond Weapon. Destroyed the building, and he's prepared to die. So he goes under the desk looking for shelter because he doesn't want to, apparently he just wants to prolong his life for another second. And he sees a switch under the desk with an L there. And then it goes into the story of the L, and all I'm thinking is, Shinra was a fucking asshole. This child was 5.
Yeah,
so
he is.
The story goes, Shinra was having a remodel of his office done.
I don't even have to summarize. You go ahead and I'll let Rhea do it. She clearly is enjoying this. You go ahead and summarize, girl.
I love you. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'll respond to you. You go ahead and summarize Case of Shinra.
Alrighty. So basically, in this scene, Rufus remembers what that L represented. So when his father, one of the rare times where his dad comes home, he is happy about a remodel being done to his floor of the Shinra building. And 5-year-old little Rufus goes, prepared to be scolded, goes to say hi because he wants to spend time with his father. And he looks over the plans, pretending that he understands everything. And this little 5-year-old, again, he's 5, is like, where's your escape hatch in case somebody tries to hurt you? Which is a legitimate question. Because he's already been threatened by Avalanche beforehand. He's already gone through dealing with a whole lot of crap. So this 5-year-old wants to protect his dad. And then he realized in that instant that he said something wrong. And Shinra decides that starts mocking his 5-year-old child. And say, I'm not gonna use it. It's gonna be for you. And how and it's gonna be with an L for loser. And it's just like, he's 5.
Good Lord. Yeah, that was a rough.
Yeah, that hurt me on a visceral level, and it's just like, we all joke about daddy issues, but it's just like, Rufus,
well,
he's got some daddy issues.
That L can stand for 2 things now: living and laugh, because he certainly got the last laugh.
He did, but so basically he flips a switch, and it's a slide that goes all the way fucking down.
Yes.
And he's like thinking that he's gonna die because it's a really dark slide. He's like, oh, so this is how I'm gonna die. And then basically through the whole thing, he's thinking about how he's going to die.
It's no wonder he got Jill stigma.
Exactly. Whereas me, I'm in that situation, be like, the whole way down.
So you would have been Aerith in chapter 8. Just,
yes, I would have. Okay, I have very few shared traits, but the adrenaline junkiness I share with Rude and Aerith. Just like, I mean, if I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna go down laughing. Which is ultimately what he winds up doing. But where I'm laughing, haha, it's self-depreciation for him.
Yeah.
And he winds up in a little safe room with L's all over the fucking place, and I'm like, that motherfucker
he thought of that shit. His dad had been thinking about that for a while. He's like, oh, like, you know, my little 5-year-old said that he wanted to protect me, so I'm gonna call him a loser, and then I'm gonna have people construct an entire building and a slide for him just in case he ever needs to use this room.
So it's just the entire way he's being infantilized. He's being mocked, even from the grave. And then, and even when he finds the medical kit, it's literally said for L, for the loser. And I'm like, that motherfucker, this child was 5.
And wanted to protect you regardless of the age. What you say, Matt?
Exactly.
He's in a good spirit, though. He actually found it funny, which is something I probably would have done if my father did that for me. I would get a good chuckle out of it.
I mean, I'd be laughing the whole way down.
It's like a irony funny, not like necessarily a ha, but like just like, I can't believe he won. He actually made it, and ironically, him trying to troll me is what's about to save my life.
But unfortunately, it also kind of puts him in danger later, because I swear he goes through an episode of Criminal Minds.
I know. My God. Yeah. So what happens after this part? So he's found.
I got it.
Yeah, he's found alive. And of course, Rude and Reno are shocked but happy.
Yeah.
They rush him to. Oh, somebody in the building took him to somewhere safe.
Yeah. So basically, they kind of they like pulled the occasional person without revealing who it was until it was time to reveal who it was.
And this was before Meteor Fall, by the way, because Reno's having a conversation with this person who's supposed to take him somewhere safe, and they're like, "Yeah, I can do it for a minute, but then I don't know what we're gonna do after that." And he's like, "What do you mean? Did you notice the rock in the sky hurling towards the earth?"
Yeah, exactly. The way it was described was it was so close you could reach out, and it was almost as if you could touch it.
Yeah,
but
that's kind of amazing too. Like, they're worried about finding Rufus and their friends and whatever. I don't know that I'd be worried about that when I look out the window and there's a goddamn meteor headed my way.
Here's the thing, though, because like that scene with when they were looking for the doctor is told from Rude's perspective, and we learn an interesting bit of information about Rude, about how he is a thrill seeker, and he likes the fact that people see him and are scared. He's essentially being written like a sadist. So I'm like, yep, that's why he's a freaking Turk. That is right there. I've been validated.
It makes, his name is Rude. I mean, clearly he wasn't born with that name, so that's the name he decided to go by, I would imagine, for a reason.
And it's brought up a couple times in how he's a thrill seeker. He enjoys it. He's looking at freaking, like, later on, when the live stream is doing his thing, he's cheering and like, Reno, this is amazing. And I'm like, he's fucking insane.
It might be a little bit. It's possible.
I mean, you now understand like why he's a freaking Turk. But it's still it was still a very interesting reveal, because when we see Rude, we see very stoic, very in control, very put together. We see Mr. Worldwide minus the music career, possibly.
Yep.
Man, but then we're realizing that underneath the surface, we've got this adrenaline junkie that probably jump out of planes for fun.
Man, yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading over this Rufus thing again. I'll make sure to label it so it's easy to find for someone who wants to escape. It'll be marked L. Got that L for loser. I'm like, Jesus. And then, so Meteor drew closer.
Sorry to jump in real quick.
Go ahead.
I gotta leave.
Okay.
So I will say my goodbyes right now. I really did enjoy reading these novels and stuff, and it's been really fun. Unfortunately, this is my last book club because I'm starting a new job, so I won't be able to partake in any future ones. But it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been fun having you. Yes. Oh shoot!
Yeah,
I messed up the stream.
Sorry, I'm having to leave early, but unfortunately, my day has been absolute chaos. But I am glad I was able to partake, at least in part, and at least I was able to partake in the Yuffie one, because that one was really a lot of fun, and I love listening to Rhea.
Yes.
Fangirl over Yuffie.
Absolutely.
And I've got the merch that I made. I'm working on earrings and got my shirt.
All right, Rhea.
She's repping hard over there. She's repping hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was originally going to wear my black hair, but people wanted the lavender, and I must give to my public.
Must give the people what they want.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's why Square Enix has been screaming Cloudy and Xerath for. Oh, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. All right.
I'm telling you, man, they're up to something. They got something up their sleeve.
They really do.
Tokyo Game Show, man. I'm scared to hope, but I'm hoping anyway.
I'm hoping. I'm hoping.
I'm a hope too.
All right, girl. Yeah, we're about to wrap this up too, because I got to go soon too. So, it's been fun.
I got my notes. Hang on.
Stitch, we're talking tonight, whether you want to or not.
Okay.
All right.
I'm kidding.
No, you're good. You're good. Okay. I'll message you later.
Bye.
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 All right. So, in your best, wow, because it just goes crazy. You got what is it that's saying in Elena? So they find Rufus alive, as we said. Get him medical help.
They take him to calm.
Yes, and
he plans on staying in calm.
Yeah,
because that's where a lot of the Midgar peoples are going.
And
Guardians. I don't know.
Sure. And Sang and Elena are running around Walmart and looking. I forget what they were doing exactly.
Yeah, looking for. Basically, they're trying to collect information for Rufus.
Yeah.
Because even any little bit of information helps, and you can work with that. Because during his slide, he broke 3 ribs.
Yes.
His right foot, and he's got some bad whiplash.
Yeah. He's not doing well. He's not doing well.
He's hurting. He needs a wheelchair. And so they're thinking they're going to be safe and calm, but it's still close to Midgar in case he's needed, because he's still the president. People are still blaming Shinra, and they want Shinra to fix it because it's their fuck up.
Oh, yeah.
I understand that, and Rufus is taking that to heart.
And now the live stream that they claimed for all that time was just a harmless little thing. Now it's killing up a bunch of people.
Yeah, exactly. It's fighting back now.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, and I remember there was a scene which, while the live stream was essentially activated, Reno and Rude went to go get tools, and they were alone in the building together, and which the shipper in me was like, ooh. But they wind up hiding in the bathroom, and I remember that scene reminded me, barring the location, it reminded me almost of a confessional. Like they're confessing to each other their closeness, and as a kind of final hurrah, Reno kicks in Rude's door and takes him back to the office so that Rude can have his one last thrill, and he's cheering, and that's where I made that point where the man is insane, because he's cheering as the live stream is doing its thing while it's destroying everything else. I mean, if you're gonna die, might as well die with your best friend, but still, just you're cheering.
Yeah, it was a very odd, very odd. Matt, I realize that you've frozen. Hold on, I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
Oh no, I'm back to moving.
No, you are, but he isn't. That's why I'm trying to see what's going on. Oh, crap.
So they reaffirmed their friendship.
Yeah, hold on.
And,
hold on, I've screwed everything up. Hold on.
Okay.
Try this. Am I back?
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out how to get back to all 3 of us instead of...
I'm making funky moves.
Yeah, you weren't frozen to begin with, Rhea. So
I was earlier.
Funky moves already.
Crap. I don't know how to get back to the view of all of us. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay, now Rhea really is frozen. Okay. All right.
I'm back.
There we go. Cool. So,
yes,
go ahead.
I have a lot of notes calling Rude a psycho, and
okay, go ahead.
We always thought that Reno was the crazy one. We're like, nope. I kind of realized in that moment, Reno is essentially holding Rude's leash.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very much the antithesis of what we all expected of that ship. Rude is crazy, and it's kind of hot.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to put it, I suppose. I don't know. Mad podcast. I'm adding you back, Mo.
Sung and hang on, things are going crazy.
Yeah, I'm adding Matt back. He got screwed up, so there we go. But yes,
and then Sung and Elena get exposed to the geostigma, but they're not infected by it.
Yeah.
So they found that one dude that's covered in it, or in the geostigma, that black ichor.
And they had not heard of it until then too. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but apparently there was a mad stampede to get out because somebody's like, "What if it's contagious?" And then everybody makes a mad dash, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's not Resident Evil. You'll be fine."
Somebody died in a bar. And that would say someone died in the bar, and at first people were, morbidly curious is the word they use, and then everybody's like, "Oh shit, let's get out of here."
Yeah. So basically, so Elena was trying to confess her love to Sung, and Sung is literally just paying attention to this one dude that's just sitting still, and he's like, "Keep talking, Elena. I don't care what you're talking about. Just keep talking so that we look normal." And I'm feeling so bad for Elena. She's trying to pour her heart to this man, and he's like, "Huh? What? Okay." And then he goes to investigate this dead guy.
He's like
hanging.
He's like he's laying awfully still.
You know how much courage it took for her to build up to do that too. She's been trying for an entire game.
Exactly. And it's not like it's a secret, but still, she's finally going to confess to him. And then he's just like, huh? But keep talking. I don't care if it's nonsense. He's literally calling it nonsense.
Yeah, that was. It did feel like a bit of unrequited love there, though he's the one that asked her out. So I mean, you know, it obviously it's requited. But
I mean, we've all seen shoujo anime where if he's like off in the distance, then they're kind of are gonna wind up together anyway. Because you know the old '90s shoujo anime and manga that all fucking time. I have issues. As an adult, I have issues.
Yeah. So as that's going on, Rufus is having a little Taken episode.
Yeah. Like it's like half Taken, half Criminal Minds, half I really feel bad for the guy.
Yes. So he's in his room. I love his reaction too. I love his reaction too because he hears like a window breaking or something like that, and he grabs for a gun. He's like, "Yeah, this isn't gonna be a good day." Rufus has a like in dire situations has a calmness about him that it feels like almost like he's using humor to keep himself, or that's just how he views it. Like I think Rufus being who he is probably has already accepted that he'll probably die young for one reason or another. Exactly. Someone's always going to be out to kill him. So he just kind of takes these things in stride. Like, yeah, somebody's breaking through the window. I got a broken foot, broken ribs, but what the hell? Whatever happens.
Well, that's just it, though, because when you really think about it, because the start of the scene is him having anxiety about the fact that there's only a wall between him and the rest of the world. He's used to having bodyguards and an entourage. Mm-hmm. But he's probably used to these high-stress situations, so even though we're seeing into his head, he's stressed the fuck out. But outwardly, he's got his mask down to a T. It is shellacked on. You're not going to see any outward expression of his anxiety. Like, his hands are not doing this. They're like...
Yeah.
But inside, because we're privy to his thoughts, we're like, no, he's not okay. And he's smooth-talking his way out of trouble, only to have his smooth talking only go so far. Like, I was rooting for him. He was like, I'm like, you almost got out of it. He could probably talk himself out of a deal with the devil. I mean it. But then the Criminal Minds half of the episode start.
Yeah, because he gets kidnapped. They don't.
Yeah, by a guy with a dungeon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it got real creepy.
It got real creepy real quick. And I'm like, I'm glad this. And I hate saying this out loud, but I'm going to say it out loud. I'm like, I'm glad this happened to a male character and not a female one, because this is some shit.
Yeah, it might not have gone as well if it was a woman.
It might not have. But apparently there were whips in there, and like, so Rufus is like using a whip and shit. And he's like, change.
Yeah, and just explain, like, who was it that, what was the man's like? They introduced more people.
Yeah, so I just remembered Mutton because I kept thinking mutton chops.
Yeah, he's trying to, yeah, and they're trying to extract information out of him about his plans to rebuild Midgard, or basically build Edge is what I was getting out of it.
Yeah, they're building Edge.
They're building Edge.
So Rufus essentially built Edge, and he just, you know, kind of did some puppeteering in the background for the first part of it while he's being beaten to death and starved and, you know, being injured. Kind of got to give him props for that.
I mean, first the man is presumed dead, and then he's kidnapped, I guess presumed dead again. Well, they know he's somewhere, but
yeah,
it's not been a good time for Rufus.
So he's essentially being punished. Like, we can look at it this way: he's being punished, and we even have the other Turks coming in as kind of a retribution, because they'd all essentially been sentenced to death, and that's why they're still loyal to Rufus, because Rufus intervened on their execution. And that's why the Turks are so loyal to Rufus. But you would think that loyalty would mean that somebody would be standing guard 24/7, because shit.
Well, he was the one that was like, nah, I don't need protection, and then he regrets it later. He's like, I don't know why I was being such a, like, he was
grandstanding.
Yeah, it's like, why? Of course I need protection. The whole world thinks that we just almost ended it, and we did. Like, of course I need protection. Could have saved us. How long did they say how long he was held captured?
he was 3 months.
Yeah.
For 3 months, he was essentially being tortured for information, and he was giving just enough to appease his captor, but not enough to sign his death certificate.
Yeah, and then there's this hilarious exchange where he's like, why don't you just tell me what you know? I'm not going to kill you. He was like, well, why don't you just take off these handcuffs? I won't run. Like, you think I'm fucking stupid?
His foot's broken. He can't run. I mean, maybe adrenaline will him, but he ain't running nowhere.
Well, I mean, look, if it's between that or being tortured to death, I'm gonna give it my best. I'm gonna give it the old college try, as they say. I'm gonna give it my all.
And I think this is around the time where we learned that Elena is the one that created the rumors that Midgard was gonna collapse. So it's just like she used her mean girl etiquette, so to speak, and just spread rumors around. And I'm like, straight from the Hand movie. And
why did she spread that rumor again?
And essentially to keep people from ransacking Shinra buildings and safe houses and what have you, which eventually they wind up doing it anyway. But so because through Rufus's machinations, they're finding all of the construction equipment and everything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Elena's all like, okay, so make sure they don't take everything. This place is gonna fall. One wrong step, and everything's gonna collapse.
Yeah, because like they go to Sector 5, Song and Elena go to Sector 5 looking. She's like, why are we going to Sector 5? He's like, well, we have stashes there, bitch. Like, that's why we're going. He didn't say bitch, sorry, that was me. Yeah.
It's like in the third Resident Evil when they go to Las Vegas to tap for the gas. Just like, shoot.
Yeah, so
ready.
And so basically this novel goes all the way until right before they're captured. Song and Elena are captured. And so let's get into how they get Rufus back.
Or
if you want to, whatever Kevorkian nonsense is going on there, crazy doctor. I mean, it just goes all over the place.
Except here's the thing: the crazy doctor's name was Killmister.
Killmeister. I thought it was. Oh.
Well, since I did the audiobook version, I kept getting Killmister, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Say it again. I'm like, if that's not a name for an evil scientist, I don't know what is.
Yes.
But yeah, he was essentially the secretary of Hodo's secretary.
Oh, it is Killmister. Yeah, sorry. I was wrong. I thought I saw an E in there.
Killing misters.
Yes. It reminds me of Killmonger from Jessica Jones. No, wait. Killmonger is Black Panther. What the hell was the guy called in it was Kill something in Jessica Jones. All right, anyway.
But essentially his entire character arc, entire character everything was just kill Mr.
Killgrave. That was gonna kill me. Okay. Yeah. Ironically.
Just like really? That's the best you could come up with?
Thank you, AJ.
They were trying real hard.
I mean, some of these names are cool, and then some of them, it's just like, you obviously weren't trying at all.
I know. I mean, some guy was named Mutton, and I'm thinking mutton chops, okay?
Especially the names that Nojiba comes up with, and Eric's is part of Trace of Two Paths, just absolutely. Yeah. I'm like, he was just pulling shit out of a hat. Like, okay, so everybody put a name in here. I got to come up with 19 characters, literally 19 new characters to put up in this bitch. Pull a name out of the hat and
generator.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. So pretty much, and then so he's rescued from Kyle and Mutton, who killed each other off. He's rescued by Killmister, who's essentially stealing him to be a human experiment at this point, with a bunch of other of his patients, and he just throws them into a cave like a freaking horror movie. And it's like, yeah, you'll find your supplies and stuff in there, and then when I call, and all I'm thinking is, don't go answering his call.
No.
Just don't do that. That is a bad idea. Okay? I'm getting like House of 1,000 Corpses vibes over here. And it's just, no.
It got real creepy.
It got real creepy real quick.
So let's go into how he escaped eventually.
Yeah.
You've been great at summarizing. I'm going to let you go ahead and do it.
Okay.
It's been a great summary so far.
Yes.
It's been more entertaining actually reading the chapter.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're going to be, speaking of, we're basically at the end. We're going to be wrapping this up. But yeah, go ahead and summarize.
Okay, so essentially Killmister he becomes an addict, and what he's been feeding the patients, captives, is and this is where it ties into case of Nanaki. So he's been using a stimulant that has been used for the soldiers, and he's been diluting it as a kind of pain management for the those afflicted with geostigma. But he's been using it on himself, almost like an Adderall, so that he could keep working without sleeping, and thus he becomes an addict. Yeah. So eventually it gets to a point where the people below in the cave system, which they're trapped there, by the way, eventually they start dying off, and those that remain, they're running out of medical supplies. So Rufus goes to Killmister and essentially saying, hey, we're running low on medicine. And like a true addict who's run out of his own stash, he essentially lowers the ladder so Rufus can climb up, points a gun at his face like, give me the medicine, I need it, revealing that he is very much in the throes of withdrawal right now. And that gives Rufus his in. So he sends Kilgrave off to go meet up with the Turks with a handwritten letter saying, hey, give him the stimulant, which is why Nanaki's cubs were killed for their tails, because the tails were used to create the stimulant. Yeah. That is essentially painkillers for those with geostigma. Yeah, yeah. And during, which is sad, but it is sad, but it's at least a better thing than just like they just killed him for no reason. I will say that. I mean, I mean, just being realistic. If I'm as a human being, I'm going to put human beings' lives over. You know, even though of course it breaks your heart. You know. Yeah, exactly. But they still left the rest of the bear outside, and it's just like, okay, you're not gonna skin it and prep it for food. Yeah, they could have at least done that. Yeah, that's I think that's where they lost in the Naki too. I mean, he was like, exactly, because for food, circle of life, not for food, motherfucker. Yeah, you just and like you don't. It's sort of like, you know, there are definitely a lot of Native American vibes when it comes to Nanaki and Cosmo Canyon, and that was if I'm speaking out of ignorance. I just know what I have heard. You know what I mean? I'm no expert on Native American culture, but I feel like that was something where like they made sure to use the whole. Like when they killed a buffalo, they made use of every part of it, as part of a respect of this animal gave us life so that we may live type thing. So. So, and depending on which indigenous culture, like for example, and again, I'm going to use the same caveat. This is based off of the homework that I've done, simply because I'm curious and I want to know the things. I have not been able to have the discussion and pick the brain of an indigenous person of these different cultures. So remember this caveat. But like what I've learned with Inuit cultures, it's even though they are honoring the life they had taken, they still acknowledge that they took a life. So it's just there's still very much a respect to the life taken, even if it manifests in guilt or manifests in different ways. But there are different rituals and practices used to honor the life, because it's not just food, it is an actual life. Yeah. So just like our whole thing with burying the dead, you know, that's it's not like they give a damn. It's just it's a matter of showing respect. So yeah, I understand why the Naki, like, you just gonna leave them out here. You could at least have fed somebody with them, you know, exactly, so that their lives weren't taken in vain. I mean, we learned through Case of Shinra that it wasn't in vain, but still it's just... But it was still disrespectful. Yeah, it's still a waste of life. I mean, I remember in Pokemon, you have a scene where you're cutting off Slowpoke tails for food. The Slowpoke's still alive. He's not happy about it. He's not happy, but he's alive.
What game was that? Jeez, I missed that.
Oh, it's in Pokemon Silver. Gold and Silver, I still remember.
And that's a story for kids, y'all say. Okay, well.
You'd be surprised what gets hidden in Pokemon. Oh my god.
But anyway, sorry, we're going off topic.
Yeah, it's non sequitur, but it's kind of sequitur.
It's sequitur, but yeah, so he ends up escaping, and didn't somebody take the rap for killing somebody? I was trying to find that page.
Essentially what happens is during the heavy rains, the caves start to flood. So the only ones left by this point is Rufus, the woman that was kind to him and was helping him. Her name was Pamela. and then Judd
That's
was the
it.
other one, was her loved one, and they're working together, and he's actually finding himself caring about their well-being. I was actually like, oh, this is some character development.
Mm-hmm.
And then they make it to the ladder, and they're hoping to just ride the current up so that they could eventually escape, like full Deep Blue Sea moment. Don't you just love all my movie references?
Yes.
So, but by that point, Killmister and Reno, Killmister shows up, and he shoots Pamela. He shoots and kills Pamela.
Mm-hmm.
And basically saying there's no cure. Killing her was a mercy. This, that, and the other. And Rufus, being the cold and calculating motherfucker that he is pissed off because he was attached to this lady. Yeah. And he likes Judd too. So he keeps Judd from like beating the shit out of Killmister just a little bit longer. They escape. Reno comes to the rescue. They're all out of the water, and they're taken to this mountain resort area. And then Killmister is basically enabled, or his drug addiction is enabled, so he can continue doing research. And it's through this research that it's revealed that the geostigma is tied to Genova, because they have similar markers like with Soldier. And he's going on about how there's no cure, and he has this Hojo maniacal evil scientist moment. And by this point, Rufus, having been exposed to the water, he was exposed to the black water, and he's like fighting it. He's trying to keep it from getting inside of him, but by the time it gets to his ears, it's too late. So him constantly thinking about I'm a die, and then the geostigma finally gets to it. He's like, well, shit.
All right. Yeah, because
Killmister's going on in his face doing his monologue. And then Rufus leaves, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, Killmister was killed in his sleep. And Judd, Red, whatever the fuck his name is, like, I'm not telling you who did it, but everybody knows, yeah, Rufus did it. Rufus essentially orchestrated the guy's death.
Yeah. He ended up, I'm pretty sure it said he ended up taking the fall for it. When Rufus heard about it, he was silent. But yeah, the woman drifted back from the... Okay, so this is the part you're talking about. Rufus stretched his hand out to her, and then there was a gunshot from above. The woman drifted back from the wooden float as if shoved and silently sank beneath the water. Pamela, the man, cried. He let go of the float to dive after her, but he was too weak to swim. And then basically Rufus is like, look, just focus on surviving. There's nothing, And then that's when bitch-ass Killmeister comes in, or Mister. Now I got it stuck in me. Comes in and says... it's not Pamela's there was nothing we could have done for her. It was an act of mercy. Pamela would thank me if she could. What an asshole. You just killed her 10 seconds ago. and then Rufus, and then it says, it's not Pamela's forgiveness you ought to worry about, Rufus thought. And so you already see the wheels turning. He about to kill this mother.
He's already plotting the homicide.
Yeah. So, and like I said, Judd ends up taking the blame for it. And then pretty much basically, after that, it was funny that they come up, Rude and Reno, the two stooges, come up with the Healing Lodge. Because he's back home or whatever. They come up with Healing Lodge. She's like, what kind of fucking name is that? and then that's when he sends Elena on a mission to go get Genova's, to go find.
And they also talk about building the monument in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they knew exactly what they were doing, and he was already preparing for the remnants to come looking for Genova. He was ready because Killmister gave him all the information he needed. He didn't need Killmister.
Tied to Genova? This ain't good. All right.
He was like, I got all I need. Bye, motherfucker. Bop, bop.
Gather the troops. All right, so that was Case of Shinra. Feel free, both of you, I'm give you time to give your last thoughts, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this up. I'm ready to eat. I'll
go last because I talked a lot today. I talked a lot the last two book clubs. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
All right. I enjoyed the summary so much more than reading it. Reading this one, Shinra in particular, was taxing. I found.
Yeah, that's why I did the audiobook version.
Yeah, I wish I had known about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it clearly was a better experience.
Yeah.
It was. It really was.
Yeah,
With the voices and everything.
As far as me, it was a lot of information. Again, a lot of information thrown at you in a few pages. But I did like seeing a lot more Rufus. I was a pretty big Rufus girl back in the day with AC. So it was nice to see. His character development, a softer side to him. Like I said, I like seeing his kind of, I don't know what to call it, but it's kind of like way of using humor to deal with like very serious situations.
His defense mechanism is actually quite relatable.
Yeah. Saying I don't know. The fixation on the mostly I just saw a fixation on Aerith and then you see. Yeah, and then Reno and Rude are just comedic relief as usual.
But it was very revealing.
Yeah.
Because, like, one, I'm a shipper. I ship them together all the way through. I don't care who knows. So it felt kind of validating, but at the same time, it just further validated that the Turks are the Turks for a reason.
Particularly Song.
Yeah. Song and Rude especially.
Seeing Rude being the action junkie was kind of funny, definitely.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because you don't expect it. You expect him to be cold and collected. When it's like, no, he's not. He's looking for thrills, and I'm scared to think where he got them.
Party boy comes out.
Yep. Yeah. It looks like Reno is actually the one that keeps him in check. And that scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. Did you actually give your? Well, yeah, you gave some thoughts. Okay. Any last words about the chapter from anybody, and then I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Like I said.
No, not really, because he let me talk the whole way, so I was able to interject my thoughts a lot of the way through.
I enjoyed your version of it very much.
I did enjoy it the second time I read it. So basically, the first time I read it was so hard I did not retain anything. Honestly, the only thing I retained up until this using the audiobook was the slide with the L and everything like that. That's the only thing I retained, and it pissed me off then. It pisses me off now. But yeah, definitely go to livestream.net and do the audiobook version. It's so much more enjoyable.
Yeah. If I ever read through it again, I will be listening to it.
Yeah, definitely the way to go. And it was nice to see more snippets of Reeve as Reeve, you know?
Yeah,
because he was apparently controlling two Kate Siths at the same time.
Speaking of, they had this passage in the Ultimania saying he could breathe life into inanimate objects. So, what the? How do you just gloss over something like that? They got to give us. I hope they actually bring that back and give us something about it. And
because the thing is, in Dirge to Cerberus, you see Kate Sith acting independendly of Reeve when protecting Reeve,
which you just consider AI, but now you're like, wait a second,
right?
Was he alive?
Are we having an actual Pinocchio situation here?
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, but like Kate would actually pause mid-conversation because he's got to control the other one. So I'm like, so not only Pinocchio, but Ghost in the Shell, she can only control two bodies at once. And then when she's like distracted by one, the other one just kind of it's just like,
it sounded creepier and creepier the longer you go on about it.
Yeah, I know. Awesome. Pinocchio is a horror movie.
I haven't seen any of the gameplay, any of the story. It was the one I really skipped over.
Oh, Dirge to Cerberus, yeah. A lot of people did.
It's amazing to hear all that.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I will get to Dirge to Cerberus in my playthrough. We will all suffer it together.
Yeah, you should.
I will enjoy it. You guys will suffer it.
I just stuff that I hadn't been able to play. I just go on YouTube and watch it, man. That's the easiest way. But anyway, all right, everybody. It's been 2 hours. I'm definitely about to go eat. I'm dying. So yeah, I really appreciate it. Of course, thanks to T for the Monk. She had to leave early, but her joining us for the last time, unfortunately, during the book club. have our lovely Rhea and our new guest, Obviously Irrelevant. Again, check him out on Twitter at Obviously Irrel, as you can see below him. And you said you have a YouTube channel as well, so yeah. So
we do a lot of horror stuff. I'm a duo.
Yes.
It's been great meeting you, Rhea, and it's been great being on the show and participating. Thank you so much for having me on stage.
It was a lot of fun. All right, everybody. Y'all have a good one. See you later.